Okay, and we're live. Our first
You
meeting
know I
of
gotta
the year.
behave, huh?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to North Georgia Photography Club, first meeting of the year. Just looking at the names here, I see a lot of new members here, a lot of new paid members, people who are just checking us out, which is fine. Some people I know. I'm going to call this guy's name out, Pete Conley. I've known him for about a dozen years from Flickr. We've met once in person, and he joined the club last year. So I see Bobby Campbell. I haven't seen you in a while, Bobby. I tried to get to your meeting last night. I didn't get home from work till 7:30. So I'm the one working lots of hours now. Bobby's for those who don't know, Bobby's the president of the Forsyth County Photography Club. Barry is here. Sharon's here. We've got about 38 people here so far, so that's pretty good. So we've got a pretty good meeting tonight. We got John Deas here talking about drone photography. We've got some exciting news that we'll be talking about in just a couple of minutes, and a slight change in how we do the meeting. Lisa is actually going to be doing the photo challenge. She's handling that now. So when you're sending your Dropbox, your images to Dropbox, Lisa's seeing them now. So she's going to handle that part of the meeting. So we'll see if we can make it through with not too many issues. So let's see if I can start the slideshow. Oops. Hang on. Issue number one, I forgot to get the slideshow up. Let's see here. All right. All right, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't panic. I got it working correctly this time. So welcome, everybody. So we've got a lot of club business we're going to talk about. Then we have some events. John will go ahead and do his presentation. And then Lisa's going to do the photo challenge. So first, just wanted to remind everybody, you can still pay your dues online if you want to become a paid member. It's $20 for an individual membership or $30 for a family. I already had about 4 or 5 people sign up today. Let's see. So got lots of extra benefits than you do if you're an unpaid member. You can enter our monthly challenges. We have our free mentorship program. We're hoping to start some overnight trips. We have our secret Facebook page. We have free workshops for paid members and reduced pricing and first access to special events. And hopefully we'll start having our summer barbecue and our Christmas dinner again this year. We'll kind of see how it goes. But if you just want to try us out, we don't require a paid membership. Non-paying members can still attend meetings. You can still go on our trips with us. You just get a lot of extra benefits for that $20. If you do want to pay, just go to northgeorgiaphotographyclub.com. Then I think you just click on the members link and you'll see it there. One important thing, since we do keep points for a monthly challenge, and at the end of the year we give out prizes. We do need you have to be a paid member to enter the monthly challenges. So we need you to pay by January 31st to be eligible for the monthly challenge. If you entered an image tonight and you haven't paid yet, you're fine. Just please pay by January 31st. And I will probably next week be sending reminders to people who haven't renewed yet. And so the exciting news that I wanted to mention, I'm gonna let Dick talk about this in a little bit, but we have finally found a new home. we're going to be moving to the Bowen Center for the Arts in Dawsonville. The tentative plan is to have in-person meetings again in March. We're also going to broadcast the meetings live on Zoom and record them for YouTube. We still need to test to see that we have the ability to do that, but that is the plan. And Dick, if you want to tell a little bit about the center and the facilities.
Sure. So the Bowen is a gallery / meeting place in Dawsonville, right next door to both the Lanier Tech campus and the whatever county that is middle school, Dawson County, I guess. Anyway, plenty of parking, and it's got a very nice big room, projector, pull down screen, restrooms. I mean, it's a good place to meet. Right now, their exhibit is model airplanes and a photography exhibit by Tom Reed, who is a local photographer. Anyway, if you go on their website, it's bowenarts.org. They got a whole raft of stuff going on. As a consequence of our meeting there, our paid members will get opportunity to sell their stuff in their little gift shop there. And her cut of the thing is much better than galleries. She only is going to charge 20% instead of 50%. And other than that, I mean, I'm real excited to have a place we can go back to meeting in person. I think that's one of the more attractive features of any club. So we'll see how it goes.
I think we have the possibility of doing shows there.
Oh yeah, we do. Either individual or as a group.
And they also wanted us to do a press release when we're ready to start meeting there. I'm like,
right.
I have no problem doing that, free publicity. And another thing that I forgot to put in the slideshow, and we're trying to figure out the details, but we're thinking of doing a North Georgia Photography Club calendar this year. We'll work out the details, but we'll probably have members submit images for it. We may or may not have a theme. We'll have people to judge the images that go in there. And then hopefully we'll be able to sell the calendar at the Bowen, and all the profit will go back to the club. And we'll just see, but that's something that we have tentatively discussed. So let's see here.
Moving on.
So looking forward to that. So watch on Facebook, and I'll send emails out when everything's official that we're moving in there. But right now, the February meeting will still be on Zoom. The March meeting, barring any new variants, will be in person. So while we've got Dick here, let's talk about trips. We moved Old Car City to next week because of how cold it is. And then he's got some stuff scheduled for the next couple of months. I'll let you talk again.
Okay. Yeah, now unfortunately, the forecast for a week from Saturday in Cartersville says it'll be exactly 1 degree warmer than it will be tomorrow. So we can hope for a change. If you truly want to go to Old Car City, if you're really a maniac, Monday looks like the best day this week, the warmest day. But I don't think I'm going. Anyway, my plan is for the last, I think it's the 26th of Feb, to go back to Sloss Furnaces it's near Birmingham, Alabama. Very cool place. I really want to go back there. One of those things where I took pictures and realized what I should have done, so I want to go back and do it right. And then March and April, depending on the weather. And I had thought at one point we're going to have an early spring. So I figured we'd be getting out into the woods in March, but I don't know. We'll see how that one plays. But the wildflower place I really want to get to is Shirley Miller Wildflower Trail, which is way out west, almost to Alabama. And waterfalls, I'm still undecided on. If anybody's got any particular wishes in that regard, message me or email me or something. I'm wide open to suggestions. I will be gone out of state a good deal in May, so somebody else is going to have to decide what they want to do for that month. June, I'm thinking, is the balloons in Helen, assuming that comes off. So far, it's still scheduled. And in July, I'm sure hoping I can find a place to shoot fireworks. Beyond that, I haven't thought very much. So like I say, as always, if you got a place you want to go, let me know about it and I'll see if I can't organize something. I have no problem making the phone calls, trying to find group rates and all that other kind of stuff.
I always use it as an example, but Sloss Furnaces, Bob Kelly had posted some pictures he took there. This was right before the pandemic started. A lot of people were interested, and we got the trip scheduled, and we had over 20 people, I think, go to Birmingham for that. Really cool.
Oh yeah, one more thing. Mike mentioned overnight trips. I am wide open to suggestions. My personal target this year is Providence Canyon, but anybody's got any other thoughts on that, let me know.
All right. And Timmy, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. That means I don't have to talk. I'll let you talk about workshops. We have Stephanie in February, which I'll be posting next week. And Mike Robertson in March. I'll let you tell a little bit about these.
Okay. Well, Stephanie's here, so she may want to talk about what she's doing, but she's basically going to do some night sky photography, photo stacking business. Several of the pictures that she's posted, people have asked, how do you do that? So she's volunteered to help us out by doing a little workshop February 10th. That'll be 7 to 9 via Zoom for that one. And she might want to talk more about it. I believe I saw her on here. And then Mike Robertson was actually a speaker for us last fall. And he talked about off-camera flash. And he's, now that it's warming up a little bit, he's going to do a workshop. Right now, again, I'm with Dick. I'm not sure how the weather is going to play out, but right now, March 12th, and that's a Saturday. And Mike said Dahlonega is probably what he's thinking. Probably around 4 in the afternoon when the light is good anyway, thereabouts, and then do the workshop on off-camera flash. So that's the two that we have definitely coming up. And then I've got several other ones in the works. I was trying to get some information and some interest, I guess, about the Linda Lester, a possible workshop with the little froggy guys. So if you haven't seen that on Facebook, please check that out and let me know if you're interested in that. And then anyway, got a couple other ones, and then yeah. So we should be rocking and rolling once spring starts. And then I know Mr. Mooney's helping me out, and he's thinking about doing a photo walk. If he's on here, he might want to talk about that if he's got any ideas pertaining to that.
He's at his son's basketball game. He thought that was more important.
I got you. Okay. Well, I saw him on here a minute ago. I didn't know if he was still here or not.
I told him he needs to change his priorities, but he says he may be in and out. So he may be, there must be action going on right now.
Very good. Very good.
So, but yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming up this year, and just want to be as active as we can with trips and workshops, the mentorships. Any suggestions you ever have, feel free to post them on Facebook. Contact me, contact Lisa, contact Timmy or Dick or Kevin or Barry. Well, actually, Barry and Michelle, if you have information about speakers, Barry and Michelle are working on speakers. Dick and Rick Olson are doing trips. Trying to remember what everybody's assigned to. If you don't know, just ask me or Lisa. We'll get you to the right person, and we'll make it happen. So now we're going to do our presentation with John. I got a little biography here. John began taking photographs at the age of 4 using his grandfather's old Brownie camera. He has taken thousands of images using a variety of cameras. He makes images of the things he truly loves, specializing in landscapes and nature photography. He's led photography workshops to numerous locations, such as the Everglades National Park, Yosemite, Bodie, Great Smoky Mountains, Acadia National Park, Yellowstone, Grand Tetons, and the Canadian Rockies. Some of his other favorite locations are the many waterfalls in West Virginia and North Carolina, as well as the Outer Banks of North Carolina. John is also a Part 107 certified drone pilot, which is what we're going to be discussing tonight. And his work has recently been on display in various galleries throughout the Southeast. So John, give me a second here. I will let you share your screen. All right, you should be able to do it. You're muted.
Yeah, he's on mute.
I can.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I thought a different subject matter would be appropriate since we really haven't talked a lot about anything like this, at least I've been aware of in the club. And I got into this about 7 months ago and it's fascinated me. So I've learned a lot and wanted to share some of what I learned with y'all. What got me into drone photography was watching a lot of people, and compared to standing on the ground with your 2 feet, they really give you a different perspective and a bird's eye view from things that I never really thought about or looked at before. I've stood on a lot of cliffs and looked down 1,800 feet, but it's not the same when you're flying over that and the image you get and the quality that are in these drones today. Pretty amazing. They can really help you get hard to access areas. And I'm getting pretty old and getting tired of getting on my knees and crawling around corners on rocks. So a drone for me is very, very beneficial, especially in waterfalls, which I love to shoot, because you're going from one side to another side many times to get a better shot, but you got to get wet to do it. If you have a drone, you don't have to. They're great for business and a new tool. Some of the opportunities right now that are hot in the drone industry are roofing companies. The problem with that is these drones are so fragile and the motors are spinning up so fast at 5,000 RPM and above. If they touch a tree limb, you're going to crack or split that one of the rotors and down you go. But there's all kinds of applications. All right, agricultural applications. People are farmers out there. The drones are flying over, taking pictures of property. So there's lots of opportunities, lots of companies, but there's lots of people trying to get in the business as well. And they really do take some amazing shots. I've only been doing it for 7 months, but I've seen some stuff now that I've been doing that I never would have thought about before. And I just continue to see the opportunities all over the place. And they're really changing the way I look at things and get me kind of inspired again. I got kind of stale the last 2 or 3 years with COVID and sitting around and taking the same pictures and going to the same places. And I got this drone and it opened up a whole new world of creativity and things that you can do that I never thought possible before. I never would have thought about them. And it's a lot of fun. There's a group, the Georgia Drone Pilots, meets once a month. They probably got 15 or 20,000 members and they're only 2 years old. It's amazing how many people around here are flying drones. Most of them recreational. I'll say that, not professional.
Hey, John.
So the first drone I bought, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Were you sharing your screen? Did you have a slideshow going? Because we can't see it.
Oh yeah, should be. I hit share screen.
You have to click on the green arrow and then it should show
Sure.
you. There you go.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
figured there might be a few slides.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple. All right. From the current. Why is it not going now? Okay. And let me minimize this over here. Much better. All right. This is a picture of the first drone that I bought, and it's the Mavic Air 2S. It was the latest one to come out from DJI, and it has some better features and advantages over some of their earlier models. As I was to find out, it probably wasn't the best drone for the application that I was trying to do, but there are some pros and cons for both. And now I can't get my screen to move at all.
should be able to
There we go.
click on the bottom left. There you go.
The next was the one backwards from the 2S that came out. It's the Mavic 2 Pro. It's a little bit heavier. It's got a different camera in it, and it does some more things that the 2S does not. The 2S has some great features for video that are much better than the 2 Pro, but the True Pro with a Hasselblad camera is an amazing thing that is going on with the technology with these drones today. So the big differences in those two is the controller is much bigger on the 2S. So the screen is better for old guys like me to see. The 2S can capture higher resolution video compared to the 2, 5.4 versus 4.4K. I don't do video, so I'm learning, but there's a whole lot of difference between the two from what I told. I just don't know video. The other disadvantage to me of the Air 2S has got a fixed aperture of 2.8. You got to put a filter on it almost all the time in daytime. They do provide graduated ND filters. There's a 4, an 8, a 16, a 32, and a 64 that they give you with the kit. And I almost have to always fly with one, especially I'm trying to slow things down and get to waterfall, the shot that I'm looking for. The Pro has adjustable aperture, 2.8 to f11, and it's perfect. So I got the best of both worlds once I learned video, I guess. The Pro feels a little bit more stable during flight for me because it's a little bit heavier, I think. I've got some instruments that can measure wind speed at the ground, but it's nothing like it is at 100 feet or 400 feet or even higher, which you're not allowed to go to legally. But it feels a little bit more stable in the wind to me. They both have the same 1-inch sensor with a 20 megapixel camera in there. And like I said, the differences of aperture f2.8 versus a fixed aperture versus the aperture that you can adjust f2.8 to 11 on the Pro. So I got intrigued by watching John Seibel and some other people flying drones in the last couple of years, and I was fascinated by it. But to be honest with you, I really didn't think I could do it because my 3D perceptual spatial is just not, I didn't think very good. So I didn't really want to spend a couple $1,000s and buy a drone thinking I was going to crash the thing immediately. I bought a couple of little small drones, little small toy drones, and flew them around the house, and that was fun, but it's not quite the same thing. And so because that steep learning curve that I thought was there, I just put it off for the last couple of years. But that's okay. I've learned a lot since then. I watched a lot of guys flying and asked a lot of questions because almost all these drones do something different. They've got drones that you can fly underwater now, these small recreational drones. It's incredible. They've got drones that'll drop payloads. They've got drones that guys use for fishing. They'll take the line out further than you can cast and drop it and then sit there and hover with the drone while they're watching where the fish are coming from. It's incredible, the videos. So I did a lot of research and watched a lot of YouTube, which is the source of a lot of my information. So I got the 2S for my first drone based on it was new and the reviews, and I thought it was going to be the greatest. It is for video. It's not as good for me for photography itself. But I do have the best of both worlds, having both video and capabilities on the two different drones right now. And I do take them out both at the same time and fly them differently depending on what I'm trying to do. Like I said, part of my learning curve is going to be with the video side and then video editing, because I thought Photoshop and Lightroom were tough, but this looks even worse. So the most fun I had was this past fall flying with 6 other guys in southern Utah. We went out way south of Canyonlands National Park and went out where you could legally fly. And to be honest, I was pretty nervous about flying over these canyons that were 1,800 feet deep. And my fear was the drone was going to go out over the edge. I was going to lose my signal and goodbye to the drone. But the guy that took us out there has over 1,000 hours of flying time, which is a lot. And he taught us how to fly and where to fly and what to do and what not to do. We followed his instructions and were able to fly all morning and had no problems. Nobody lost signal, nobody lost drones, and we got some incredible pictures. My most fun shot from that morning was the view from above. I'm about 210 feet. And the sunrise is just touching the mountain peaks. And that's the image I'm looking straight down at as I'm flying over. I hovered and took that shot. People say, is a flying drone a difficult thing? Not really, I don't think. For the most part, it's quite easy. flying and keeping track of all the stuff, following the rules, taking videos, taking pictures, changing the settings, changing your speeds, changing your perspective. You got to do all that at the same time. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky, I think. There's some registration requirements from the FAA for drones. All drones have got to be registered except those weighing 0.55 pounds or less. That's only 250 grams. Those drones will be flown exclusively under the exception for recreational flyer category. Excuse me. Drones registered under the exception for recreational flyers can't be flown for 107. The certification for 107 means that you are licensed to do commercial work with your drone versus recreational flyers. So if it's more than 0.55 pounds up to 55 pounds, you're considered now mandatory registration. You're going to be flying under Part 107 certification. Any drones flying under 107 can fly recreational as well, but those recreational can't fly 107 because they haven't taken the certification test from the FAA, which is a whole nother matter. The 107 registration costs $5 a drone, valid for 3 years, and the same thing for the recreational flyers. It's $5 and valid for 3 years. So every 3 years, you got to re-register any drones that you've got. They give you an exclusive number that's licensed for that drone. And at some point in time by 2024, the mandate will be all the drones flown non-commercially by military and government will have a transponder in it. So other aircraft will be able to identify who you are, where you are, and where you're flying. So it's a lot of controversy right now about invasion of privacy and rights, et cetera, but I still think it's better than crashing into a plane. You got to be 13 years old or older to register the drone or get an adult to do it for you. It's not that big a deal. You got to be a legal and permanent resident of the United States as well. So how do you learn how to fly? Get in a really big open space with no trees, with no power lines, no people, and just practice, practice, practice. Take the drone up about 10 feet and fly in squares, fly in circles, learn about flying sideways skids, learn about flying backwards, learn about where your sensors are and how sensitive they are for obstacle avoidance, which is critical to the drone's operation as well. Flying is one thing, learn to fly smooth and be cinematic for video is a whole different thing altogether. And that's going to take a lot of practice, I think. There are drone simulators that you can sign on to online and go through the experience that way. They're actually in-person classes where you can pay a fee and they will let you use one of their drones and fly for 4 to 6 hours for a number of hours of class. And then you get prepared to certify and take your test. They're online classes as well. And YouTube, of course, is the everything as far as anything to learn that you want to, it's all out there. The instruction manual is pretty trashed, I think, for most of these drones and things that I've read recently, especially manufactured out of China. And I'm not knocking the country, but the manuals are so small and so nonsensical that they don't really have practical sense to them. And I think if you want to know things about the different drones, how to fly, how to set it up, how to charge batteries, etc., YouTube's still the best bet. Here's some very basic drone flight guidelines for the United States for flying. You have to fly below 400 feet, mandatory. It's a big problem if you get above 400 feet AGL, because now you're getting into commercial airspace where planes are coming in and landing, and they start their transponder descend with wheels at around 12,000 feet, and at 500 feet, they're too late to come in to stop, and they can't avoid you. You've got to fly mandatory before 400 feet at all times. Supposedly, you have to fly line of sight. If you can't see it, bring it in. If you have an observer with you who is watching your drone, I have found that that person can watch that drone farther than I can because I take my eyes off it, looking at the controller and making sure all the functions of the drone are happening. So people talk about these, how far you can go in the distance and how high you can do all that, but it's not within line of sight. And it's above 400 feet, which is illegal. Stay away from airports. People are so crazy wanting to take pictures of planes taking off. That is controlled airspace. It is illegal, and you get in big trouble flying anywhere close to almost any airport in the United States. Stay away from airplanes. They have the right of way. That seems to make kind of common sense. You're not allowed to fly over or close to sports events or stadiums. Last week, during the Bengals playoff game in Cincinnati, some idiot took a drone and flew into the stadium and sat low enough at height, and he watched and videoed them playing the game and then flew all over the stadium. He will get found out. It's on YouTube. It's on there. It's out there everywhere right now. But that is totally illegal. He'll end up with a huge fine and probably do some jail time for that. That's just illegal because of the crowd people. You're not allowed to fly over emergency situations as car crashes, building fires, stuff like that. That kind of makes sense. Let those people do their job. Big one, don't fly under the influence of drugs or alcohol. The old military and pilots expression is 8 hours from bottle to throttle. Don't drink and fly. In my opinion, you got to watch out for trees because they are the #1 statistical cause of all drone crashes. It doesn't take but one little teeny limb to knock that thing out of the air, and you've got an expensive repair situation in your hand. So I found this little picture of a little drone police quadcopter that I thought was kind of cool. And they do use those types of drones in the city of Phoenix, Arizona for surveillance. So restricted airports obviously stay away from there, military bases, Department of Defense facilities, any national park. It got so bad a number of years ago. By 2004, the national park had enough of drones, and by 2014, they completely banned them altogether, and it's not allowed in any national park in America. Georgia has taken the same situation and status on the state parks in Georgia. You're not allowed to fly in Georgia on a state park. Many cities are doing the same things, but many cities encourage drone flyer, and they have actually race courses and flight centers set up where you can fly. Some is pretty cool. In South Dakota, I found a number of places where I could fly in the cities, and it was pretty nice to be able to do that. Don't fly over prisons. That kind of makes sense. When they talk about restricted areas, these are areas where they have permanent no-fly areas. You are not allowed to fly there anytime. You cannot get exception to fly there at any time. However, saying that, if you are outside of the area and the zone of the restriction, you're allowed to fly at the height 400 feet or less and to go around those places. Some of them you can see from where you are, some of them you can't. They just don't want you lingering. And the same kind of thing, common sense. Washington, D.C., 100% is a no-fly zone. Not a temporary, it's 100% no-fly zone all the time. Because of the foreign dignitaries, because of the people in Washington, our elected congressmen and senators, and our president, vice president, they don't want you flying drones at any time. That can get you in jail really, really quick. Some of the things to look for before you fly: check the condition of the drone, make sure there's no cracks in the props. That seems to make common sense. Make sure you know the rules and regulations for where you are. Some places in the national parks, they're all illegal, but there are places in the national forest where you can fly legally. So it depends on where you are, where you can fly. Whitewater Falls at the border of North Carolina and South Carolina is a beautiful waterfall. It's huge. You are legally allowed to fly there in that national forest area. Like I said, some places you're not allowed to. Battery charging is a big thing. The drones, fully charged batteries. Either one of my drones, I can fly for about 24 minutes. They say 31, but it's not quite that at all. It's more like 24 minutes. Most people carry 3 batteries, so your total day flying is probably about an hour. Make sure your control and the drone are properly connected. A lot of times in mid-flight, one of the USB-C connectors will disconnect from your cell phone or your iPad or your iPhone, and all of a sudden you're going to lose connection. The drone is going to hover in place until it runs out of battery, until you get reconnected, and it'll reacquire the signal, and then you can control it again. That's a kind of a panic moment. Watch the weather, know what it's going to do beforehand. The weather above you is not the same as the weather at the ground. And watch around where you're standing before you take off. Do a 360, make sure there's no people or objects in the way. And before you take off, check your camera settings. It's a lot easier to do it when you're hovering or when you're on the ground than up in the air when you've got trying to get the shot. Make sure there's a memory card. That's a big one. I bet we've done it before with our cameras as well. Make sure you got some extra memory cards, and tell anybody around that's close to you that you're about to take off. And the same thing applies when you're coming back. When I'm returning back flying my drone, there's some people around me or other drone flyers. I announce every 100 feet, I'm at 100 feet in closing, I'm 300 feet distance away, I'm descending at this. That way they can stay away and I can stay away from them. We all know where everybody else is. You won't have any problems that way. Some of the things that you can buy that are neat to have: extra batteries, extra props, cables. Those USB-C cables break and go out all the time. Some people have a lanyard where they connect the lanyard to the controller itself. And if you're having an iPad as your source of the controller and your video, then it makes sense because it takes the weight off of your hands where you can actually fly from the controller itself. It's kind of nice. Helipads are nice because they're bright orange or they're bright blue. The drone can see them better and you can see coming back what the drone is doing to land and back on where you are. Sunshades are nice, especially for the iPhones. I understand that Android phones are not as bad, but in the bright daylight sunshine, that iPhone, I almost can't see anything. And many times I'll just sit in my truck and fly that way. But I've got to be able to see the drone while I'm flying or have an observer. Don't forget, again, many more micro SD cards, memory cards. A lot of people now are flying with vests. They're those fluorescent orange, the fluorescent green vest, and some of them will have a statement attached to it. I'm flying a drone. Please don't talk to me until I land. I saw a guy have a card, note cards on the ground that said, yes, I'm flying a drone. No, you can't talk to me. Please wait until I stop flying it, and no, you can't fly it. I thought that was kind of neat, but I guess some people get hassled. A hard shell case and a backpack and a bag sometimes are great to have for these things. They get bounced around, they're pretty delicate. Some quick definitions: a UAV is an unmanned aerial vehicle. It's a drone. No passengers. And a Part 107 certificate, and unable to fly that, you've got to obtain your certificate from the FAA. It demonstrates that you know the rules and regulations. VLOS is visual line of sight. How far away is that drone? How far can you see it? You're supposed to be kept within visual line of sight. AGL, above ground level. ASL, above sea level. Pilot in command. The reason FAA has a pilot in command is that person is directly responsible for the drone. You can still have somebody else fly that drone if they're not certified, or either a recreational or a Part 107 pilot, as long as you are supervising and on scene. So that's kind of what the PIC is. Excuse me. A lot of stuff has come technology-wise in the last few years. This first-person view drones are very small. You put on some goggles, and they have screens inside it that transmit the drone's camera footage in real time. These drones are usually small. They are very, very fast, and they are super unstable. As your head and eyes move, the drone moves. You're not controlling with toggles like the other drones. And they are crazy, crazy. I'm not sure I could do it. Geofencing is a built-in technology by DJI and other manufacturers to keep you away from places you're not supposed to fly. Sometimes it's a pain. Most of the time it's not. There are apps out there that you can do before you fly, Aloft and some other ones that'll tell you whether you're in an area okay to fly or not. But the geofencing has been put in by DJI, and a lot of people are angry about it, but it's like anything else. You got to obey the rules. A lot of people put the return to home RTH button. It's very critical. You set that altitude coming back in case something happens. Sometimes the problems with return to home is that drone's going to go back up to 100 or 400 feet, wherever you set it. It's going to come straight back in a horizontal line, and it's going to drop straight down over top of where you are. If you happen to be under a bunch of trees and you flew it out through a hole in the trees, it doesn't know that. And it's going to come down where you are, where that controller is. That's not a good thing. So you need to land those drones by yourself manually. The TFRs are temporary flight restriction. And for example, Joe Biden came to Atlanta last week. They had a TFR all the way up to Marietta, all the way out to where Athens, Georgia, all the way west to the state line and south to who knows where. Those areas for TFR where you cannot fly on a temporary basis. University of Georgia during a football game would issue a TFR during the game that you can't fly over there. But those are temporary, not permanent. Talk a little bit about the test. 60 questions, multiple choice. There are about 200 possible test questions the FAA pulls from. It's computer-based. You'll get the results As soon as you're done, you have 2 hours to complete the test. The fee is $175. And if you fail it, you can take it again in 14 calendar days, but you got to pay another $175. Your license is good for 2 years. I studied for about 60 hours. And I thought it's probably one of the hardest tests I've ever taken. I'm not real smart, but I thought that was really hard. You need a 70 to pass. I got an 88 and I was ecstatic. The test itself, as far as the recertification, can now be done online and at no cost. And it is not near as difficult as the original test. They set it up almost where it's a refresher course and not really a recertification. So some of the subjects are on the next slide here. There are nautical knowledge that they test you for. Regulations, just drones, airspace classifications, critical, important, aviation weather sources, aircraft loading performance. And they're talking about the wing loads and the level of altitude and attitude on the actual wing structure and the physical structure of the drone, what you can and can't do, those kinds of things. Emergency procedures, crew resource management, make sure that the people there on your team on the ground all understand what you're doing, what the objective is, and to help operate the drone, whatever you're doing, in a safe manner. They're also going to quiz you about the performance of small drone unmanned aircraft. They talk about the physiological, psychological effects of drugs and alcohol, aeronautical decision-making, airport operations, and pre-flight inspection procedures. This is a really confusing slide, and I'm going to try and make it as easy as possible to understand. Class A airspace in the red is 18,000 feet and above. That airspace is primarily for high-speed airspace, point to point, and that airspace is used for commercial pilots and large rental airplanes of signature jets for private airlines. Area B, Class B airports, is the big airports, Atlanta, Chicago, if you can imagine. Those things you're looking at are upside down wedding cakes, or the external amount of distance you've got to keep from the airport at a certain distance. And the charts will tell you, when you look at the chart, not this, but the one I'm going to show you next, it'll show you what the differences are. So when you get to a Class C airport, you're talking about something like Athens or Gwinnett. They're smaller regional airports. They do have a control tower, and you've got to have permission to fly in that space as well. In a Class D airport, they're non-towered. They're really general aviation. They're for cargo and business jets. So you don't see a whole lot of those around, but this country in America has more Class D airspace and E airspace than any other place in the world. It's amazing how much airspace that we have and how many little regional airports are out there. There's thousands of them. This is the worst part, in my opinion, of the whole test, and the hardest to me to take. This is a sectional chart, a very small piece of it, from Punta Gorda, Florida, there, kind of in the middle to the right. To the left is Coral Creek Airport. Above that, to the north and the west, is Venice. Venice and Coral Creek are both private airports. Obviously, Punta Gorda is not. On these charts, you can tell if there's towers here, radio towers. For example, if you look down towards the bottom on the right-hand side, you'll see little towers with lightning or like a bolt or something on top of those. Those are antennas or radio towers. You see where mountains are there. You see where the terrain is. They tell you about all kind of information there. And you've got to be familiar with every single bit of it. The blue line on the outside, the far outside of the Punta Gorda, indicates that it's a Class B airspace. You've got to get permission. The rosy red, kind of smaller around in the inside, indicates a Class D airspace. You still got to get permission there because it's a larger airport. The sectional charts are a killer, and they're definitely the hardest on the test. Out of 60 questions, they probably asked 8 to 12 on sectional charts. Testing locations in the US, there's over 800 approved FAA locations. They've contracted with a company called PSI who administers the test. You can schedule it online at your leisure. They've got tests every half an hour. I took mine down at Gwinnett. They have a proctor there. Like I said, you have 2 hours to take the test. Within minutes, you have the results. There are a number of preparation sources online that you can take classes from: the Altitude Institute, Drone Pilot School, King Schools, Drone Launch Academy. The FAA has a pretty good source, but the language is very, very technical and as dry as you can imagine from a government publication. The Drone Coach is another source. Pilot Institute is another. All of those have available YouTube. Some of them you have to pay for the classes, some of them you do not. There are plenty of YouTube videos out there that are free with real exam questions that'll set up a 60 question for you with the time and let you practice take the test, and they'll change the questions all the time. So that's the majority of what I did. I watched about 4 different people on YouTube and kept on taking different tests. The test for a hobbyist flyer is completely different from a certified 107. The 107 pilots are the only ones that can make money as commercial. If you have a YouTube channel, for example, and you are on YouTube, whether you're creating revenue for yourself or not, the possibility exists that you could create revenue. If you're flying a drone, you've got to be commercially licensed 107, because the FAA is going to assume that you have a YouTube channel, it could be commercialized, and therefore you're flying the drone for commercial reasons. So they want to teach you really about the trust exam, what it means to fly recreational, the kinds of airspace, the restrictions, that kind of stuff. Some of the same stuff for Part C. They teach you how to prepare, how to pre-flight your drone, the weather curve, weather, obstacles, etc., the same kind of things. They teach you about safety, visual line of sight, first person view, those kind of things, how to avoid obstacles, the limitations. And at the bottom and the end of it, you'll answer a series of multiple choice questions. If you answer it wrong, you'll see an explanation and be given an opportunity to select the correct answer. In other words, you can't fail the test. You keep on answering until you get the thing right, and you'll get your hobbyist. If you're flying a drone, you're over 13 years old in America, and you're not flying commercially, I would take the test, have that piece of paper in my hand, because somewhere stays somebody, some government official who does know what to talk about, question you. This is one of my early flights for Asstown Ball, as some of you guys recognize, I'm sure. I was probably about 150 or 200 feet in altitude from the place, and I was probably maybe 600 or 700 feet away. The files for the drone will be DNG files, or that's your raw file, or they'll be JPEG. This is a shot from down south in Hanksville, Utah. That's with a 64 Grad ND filter on a 2.8 non-variable fixed lens. This is the area that I flew over that you saw in the very first picture, that gold light on the top of those hills leading up to those mesas at sunrise, is what I saw and what I shot when I flew over there and looked down. So that's kind of where that came from. I appreciate y'all having me. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer them for you. And I really appreciate being here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Good presentation, John. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody
Get
have
back to
any
you, Mike.
questions? What?
Let's give it back to you, brother.
Okay, so bring everybody back. So anybody have any questions for John?
John, remind us how you take your hobbyist exam.
You can take it online, and it's called Trust, T-R-U-S-T. And you just go to the FAA website, and it'll say, do you want to do a Part 107 or do you want to take the Trust exam? You take the Trust exam, it'll lead you down there, cost you nothing. You get the piece of paper, and you won't get any hassle. Legally, the only people that are allowed to ask you for anything is somebody from the FAA. You can't have a local cop ask you. You can't have anybody else ask you, a sheriff or anybody else. They don't have the right to know what you're doing. The other thing people don't understand about drones is you do not own the airspace above your house, above anywhere else. You can fly over your house all day long, and your neighbor's house as well. What they'll get you on is if you're loitering. If you're hovering and standing there and harassing somebody or taking pictures, you deserve to have the law called on you. But you cannot stop me from flying over your house. I can fly over your house at 20 feet or 200 feet. And that's no difference whatsoever, because you don't own the airspace. The other thing that's come up recently is out in the country, these guys are flying drones, taking pictures that are beautiful out in the Palouse, for example, in Washington State. The farmers are shooting them out of the sky. That is a federal offense, and you are going to jail for that. That's a big no-no. You can't do that. We're a licensed aircraft. You cannot do that. Like shooting a plane out of the sky. It's just totally illegal.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's happening.
Mhm.
I can't imagine.
And my last question is the hobbyist exam, do you think a little bit of a practice for your part 107? I mean,
Yeah,
does
it
it
gives you
cover
the-
similar?
Yeah, it gives you
material?
similar, it gives you some of the basics really as far as flight safety and some of the how-to. It's just the 107 is so nitpicky. Out of the 60 questions in my test, there were 12 of them that had nothing to do with flying drones, but you got to know it anyway. One of the questions, for example, is you are parked at the stop access on a major Class B airport runway, which you wouldn't be anyway. You're about to take a left and the airport controller puts you on a stop. At what degree heading will you be flying out of? Well, how would I know? I'm not flying there anyway, ever. So, it's just different stuff like that. Airport approaches, when these uncontrolled airspaces like Athens that are off hours, there's nobody in the tower. You still have to talk to let other pilots know what's going on. So you tell them when you got a downwind approach, when you're crossing, and then when you're coming on final. It's nice to know that. There are apps now coming out where you can hear pilots talking and you can see other airplanes and they'll tell you how many there are and what altitude. So I can't wait for some of that technology to happen.
There's also
Yeah.
apps that you can use to help new drone pilots determine if the area that they are about to fly in is approved area.
Absolutely.
Those-
Before you
those
fly
are
is
free.
one, Aloft is another.
Yeah,
They're great
before you
apps
fly,
because yeah,
Air
absolutely.
Map. Yeah.
You betcha.
So
Love it.
that's a very handy free tool to use for anybody new into it.
I am. There's a lot to learn. Got to talk about insurance. I can ask a real question about insurance. My insurance is through Farm Bureau. They insure my drone just like they would my firearms, my photography equipment, or jewelry. It's a separate rider, and it's based on the cost. There's a $2 million liability rider attachment to my policy in case I cause property or damage to people. The insurance is about $310 a year. I have the same thing, $220 a year for $40,000 with the camera gear, et cetera, but they're separate riders. I've identified the serial numbers, I've registered them, the data purchase, that kind of stuff, and 100% covered with no deductible.
That's if you crash into another person's property.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
But
the
if you
other thing,
crash your drone into a tree, it doesn't replace your drone.
That's correct. It
Right.
does not.
DJI
It's there
offers,
for liability purposes. Yeah. If you crash it, there's the thing, what drones you can buy for at least DJI drones. It's
Right.
called DJI Care Refresh. And up to a certain amount, they'll replace your drone, the liability and the deduction, et cetera. But really the commercial insurance, I had to do the same thing when I was teaching workshops in Smokies. You have to have commercial liability insurance, and it's not for you, it's for them.
with the Care Refresh, depending on which DJI drone you purchase, the price varies, right? So if you buy
Yes, sir.
the Mavic Mini,
Yeah.
the DJI Refresh plan is going to be cheaper than
Absolutely.
the Air
I think
2
it's
because of
89,
cost.
it's 149 for the Pro and the S2. And the bigger ones, the Matrices and stuff, I imagine are hugely expensive. The
Yes.
guy that took us out in the Utah is a professional cinematographer. He's got some kind of drone from them that's $30,000 with the different cameras. I can't imagine crashing that drone. I want to even fly that thing, but they're huge. There are four
Right,
people,
but
operations.
For anybody getting into it, it's worth paying that $80 for DJ because you will
Absolutely.
crash it.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
I've used it 2 or 3 times, crashing mine, ruining mine, and without that Care Refresh plan, I think I would have been out $700 to $1,000 buying a new drone. But they replaced it quick and easy.
Yeah, I got the new DJI Mini last year and wound up crashing it into a tree the first time I took it out.
No
But
surprise.
I got the Care Refresh, so I just sent it in, and I had a new drone the following week.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very
they're pretty
easy.
amazing about that.
Yep.
And I would suggest the same thing. If you're going to start doing this, start with something small, start with a Mini that's less expensive, learn the controls, learn how to fly, get more confident. I didn't fly some of those places in Utah because I was scared, to be honest with you. He kept saying, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I kept thinking, that's an 1,800-foot drop, and I'm going out over a tower that's 600 feet away from me, and I go to the back side of that thing. What happens if I lose control? It's done. Well, you don't, because it still keeps on flying, as you know. But anyway,
Yeah, I got
You
I
learn
got
to trust it after a while.
Yeah, I got the
Quick
Pro 2
question.
a while back, and it just, the cost and the size of the thing, I was afraid to fly it. So I wound up getting, yeah, I was like, the thing's sitting in a box. So I got the Mini just so I could fly the thing, get good at it, and then take the Pro out when I figure out what I'm doing.
Don't be afraid. Go fly. As
Yeah,
long
a
as
lot
it's not
of-
sleeting and snowing.
A lot of the times I have no confidence, but if I just can go up, and I just take a look around and I just come right back down, I got to get that confidence to go a little further out. But
What
you're
are you
right,
flying?
in line of sight, in air, and
Okay.
I want to upgrade at some point, but in air right now. I want to upgrade because the camera's megapixels aren't what I
Right.
want, but
Right.
yeah.
So how does it, the FAA says that local law enforcement cannot ask you for your license?
They don't have any jurisdiction. It's a federal, it's not a local situation. So they may hassle you, but you have the right to absolutely not answer any questions. You don't have to give them your name as long as you're on public property. You're not doing anything illegally. There's not a darn thing they can do to you. Just tell them to keep calling their supervisor. They
Because
have
as a
no right
law
whatsoever.
they are allowed to detect, deter, and investigate unsafe and unauthorized drone operations.
If I'm doing something unsafe, then I need to get in trouble for doing something unsafe, but I'm obeying the rules and following the law. So there's nothing they can do to me. They can't prosecute me and they can't demand anything because I'm under their jurisdiction.
Well,
I just
I
assume
got-
not getting a problem with the cop, though, to be honest with you. I do it right, so I don't have those issues.
I'm curious to see what the OCGA law is on that.
Yeah, don't know yet.
So, all right, well, I appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
So how does the sectional chart, like, I've never really flown a drone. How does it translate to, how do you know, I mean, besides, I live here, is there any kind of app or something where am I asking a weird question? I don't know.
No, and the sectional charts are to show you where you can and cannot fly based on restricted areas. That's what the sectional charts are doing. They're for actual pilots for coming into the airport. So they need to know their heading, they need to know altitude, they need to know barometric pressure and those kind of things when they're coming into an airport. And they're talking to the tower, and that's called controlled airspace.
Okay.
Drones are not supposed to be flying in controlled airspace unless they have what's called an exception from the FAA, and it comes through an app called LANC, L-A-A-N-C. So you apply for the exception and they say yes or no. And I'll give you a great example. My son's a police officer in the Gwinnett Sheriff's Office. He's in charge of gangs and human trafficking in the Southeast. They were flying a drone from an I-75 following an 18-wheeler up the interstate. They got outside the city limits and they called over to the Atlanta airport and asked for an exception under Part 107, based on what they were doing, to fly through the city of Atlanta and follow this truck. And they said no. They will not give you permission to fly through a Class C airspace, or B airspace, I'm sorry, especially the busiest airport in the world, Atlanta. So that's not going to happen. But
That's
for that
interesting.
question, yes, there are apps you can pull on your phone that can tell you whether you can fly there or not.
Thanks.
Sure.
One more question. Does that scare everybody off?
I probably
All right, well, John, thank you very much. We appreciate a
My
lot
pleasure.
of good information there. I know a lot of people have been wanting to get into drone photography, and definitely I think help people get started. And before we go and do our monthly challenge, tell us about some of your upcoming workshops. I know you've had one that you've posted on.
I have my next workshop will be into the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It'll be April 7th through the 10th. It's 3.5 days. It is structured for any level of photographer, from beginner to advanced. We talk about different techniques and when to use filters, what filters to use, harsh light versus morning light, late light in the afternoon. We'll travel from Currituck in the north all the way down to Cape Hatteras in the south during the 3.5 days we're there. We start out shooting on a Thursday night at 6 o'clock and we end on Sunday morning at noon. Pretty much it's a run and gun and shoot. The workshops in the spring at the Outer Banks, the chances of seeing the horses on the beach are almost zero. The workshops in September on the beach for the horses are almost 100% chance. They just don't come down to the beach that early in the year because it's too cold. But the best thing about going that time of year is there's no people and no traffic and hardly any tourists whatsoever. So shooting to me in April is the ideal time to go. The other workshops I have later in the fall or the spring, I've got the May time period for North Georgia waterfalls, as well as October for that. And then of course the Outer Banks again in the fall. I have 2 personal workshops I'm going to, one in the Canadian Rockies and the other one to Death Valley. That'll be scheduled later this year, but I do personal one-on-one workshops as well, or small groups if people are interested.
Thank you, John. And where
My
can
pleasure.
people
Thank
contact
you.
you?
You can contact me on my website at www.johndaysphotography.com, or my phone number is 678-936-3771.
All
You can
right.
also find me on the web, Facebook, John Days Photography as well. And Michael, you know how to get in touch with me, so
Yeah.
I'm not hard to find.
Yeah. And John is a member of the club, and he posts on our pages a lot. I mean, I see him in a lot of other groups too, so you'll be very easy to find him.
Drones are fun.
We will go to our first monthly challenge of the year, and I'm going to hand it to you, Lisa. Let's see.
Cross your fingers.
You can get this technology to work.
You had her.
You should be able to. There you go.
Can you see my whole screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. So for those of you who are new to the club, we have monthly themes for our photo challenge, and our committee of Rick and Corey have selected our themes for this year. So this is the list of themes. It is also posted on the club website and also on our Facebook pages. And the links for the Dropbox for all of these themes should also be posted on the website. So if you want to get going early on some of these themes, you are welcome to submit your photos for the monthly challenge for any of these months at any point in time. All right. Our photo challenge for this month is mountains. So you'll want to keep the theme mountains in mind as we look through the photos to see if the photo fits the theme. We have a limit of 1 image per person, and it's a single image file only that is less than 2 years old. Like Mike said earlier, you must be a paid member to enter, but for January, you have until the end of the month to pay should you place this month. You must be at the meeting to place, but we do allow you to miss one time of the year. We know things come up, so you're allowed to submit your image and be gone for 1 month. And our photographer of the year wins $100. They also receive a free membership for the following year and a special trophy for the year. When you're voting, keep in mind that you're voting for first, second, and third place. So when you submit your ballot, have first, second, and third place on there. Don't vote for the same image more than 1 time. And again, keep the theme in mind. Mountains is the theme for this month. And at the end, I'll give you this email address again. It's vote@ngaphoto.club. It's a little bit different. And we give points for first through 5th place. We keep track of those points for the whole year, and that's how we determine our photographer of the year. So we'll go ahead and get started. We have 14 images for mountains, and I will go through the images 3 times. So you'll have plenty of time to view them. This is image number 1. Two. 3, 4, 5,
Yona.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Lisa, I think you're getting way off on the numbers. I'm having trouble keeping track of which ones you're showing.
Is my screen not keeping up with me?
There
Correct.
may be a
Yeah.
little delay.
A
Oh,
big
okay.
lag between when you say it and when it shows.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me go slower backwards then.
Numbers are up in the corner too, just so in case you didn't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, I'm saying the number in case anybody can't see that.
Just read the numbers.
Is 14 the last one?
It was, yes. Can you see 13 now?
Yes.
Yes.
12?
No.
Now I see it.
All right, I'll let it refresh for a second. 11. You guys just let me know when you can see them.
Yes.
Now,
I think we had this problem last month too. 10. Everybody see 10?
Yes.
yep,
9,
Yes.
you're good.
8,
Yes.
You're good. Yes,
7,
yes,
6,
yes,
5, 4, 3,
No,
hold on.
I'm still on 5.
Oh, I see 3.
Did this happen every month when I was doing it?
Just
There's a lot
last
of
month.
variation in this though, because I'm getting them right away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm keeping up
Wow.
with her.
Yeah.
It's our question of your internet connection, I assume. That's, I've got a
right.
very slow one.
Right.
Everybody see 3 at the moment?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. 2,
Yep.
Nope,
Nope.
no, now I see it. That's the lag.
Yes.
Quite a lag.
1,
Not yet. Now I see it.
Yes.
should we go through them one more time?
Yes.
Okay. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5? Is everybody with me on 5?
Yep.
No,
Yep.
no.
6?
Come on, come on. That's taking forever. Oh, there we go. Wonder if it has to do with file size.
They're all about the same size.
Oh, okay. Oh. And it's my internet connection being really slow. sometimes.
7?
Yeah, there we go.
I have AT&T and they slow things down in the evenings.
8? Nine? Ten? $11? $12?
Come on, computer. Got it.
13?
Got it.
And 14. You see that one, Dick?
Yep. I got to get a faster internet connection. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, Lisa, it's got to be the internet connection because I was popping right along without missing.
Yeah,
a
no,
beat.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm a long way from my router and I don't have a real fast connection in the first place. So.
All right. So again, vote for your favorite 3, first, second, and third place. And send your votes to vote@ North Georgia or NGA photo.club. What time is it? I would try to finish by about 8:45.
8:45 to do your votes.
Yeah, we'll tally those and post them on both the website and the Facebook pages by tomorrow morning.
And make sure you do
Yeah.
.club, because if you do .com, your vote won't get counted. And don't go yet. We got like 2 more slides left.
I'm gonna figure out how to not share anymore here.
Should be able to move your cursor to the top.
Oh, yeah. Back to you, Mike.
All right.
There we go. Oops. There we go.
I wasn't sure if I was on the right screen or not. So our next meeting is going to be on February 18th at 7 p.m. It'll be on Zoom. Our presentation is going to be Tom Wilson, who's going to be talking about the Chattahoochee River. And our photo challenge theme is going to be framed. And that's it. Thanks for coming tonight. It's a great meeting. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody who attended. We had, I think, 41 people and 1 dog attending tonight. A very
Next
well
week.
behaved dog, it looked like.
This one's not behaved.
Did you have 1 or 2 dogs there?
One. He's just
Okay.
a little.
And then a
minion
cat.
And a cat.
What are they looking at? What is he looking at?
Her.
Yeah.
I won't let him over there.
All right, have a good evening, everybody. Get your votes in, and we'll see you hopefully next Saturday for Old Car City, and in February for our next meeting. Good night,
If we
everybody.
don't get snow.
Good night, all.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Right.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
I'm like a Waltons.
Good night.